A very lovely morning to everybody concerned. Today is a fantastic Thursday morning. The sun is out, and I just wanted to provide you who's watching, everybody of concern, from professionals to all the way down to just me audiences. I wanted to provide you a latest update or a latest quickfire podcast about something that is very, very close to my heart and which I am very, very passionate about. So, without further ado, I want to speak to you about, let me speak to you about a potential Pacific Island team to be entered into any rugby format, whether it's via the Sansa or whether it's playing internationals on a regular basis, or whether it is forming a separate competition that includes teams from Australia, New Zealand, and yes, the inaugural Fijian team. Now, I believe with the current players, I mean, come on, it goes without saying that the current players who play for major countries like England, Australia, New Zealand, USA, there are players in there who have got heritage or who have got lineage that roots back, that traces back to the Pacific Islands. The only team that does not have a connection to the Pacific Islands is the current World Cup holders, and that is South Africa. But if you look at a lot of teams across the board, a lot of teams do have former expats or they do have current expats who are Polynesian, who do have traces to the Polynesian islands. So it goes without saying that the Polynesian countries have provided a lot to the sport of rugby union, to the extent historically there have been one-off games. There have been the team that was launched, the Pacific Islanders team. Okay, that was a team that pushed the likes of the All Blacks and the likes of the Wallabies so far that every time they ran out onto the pitch, an upset was on the cards. Can you believe that? A team that can always throw up an upset against the major powers of world rugby. So I think it's about time that the governing body stood up and realized and do not avoid or do not throw this idea on the scrap heap for any longer. Yes, Mick, if you are watching, this is a message specifically for you that now is the time, particularly with the coronavirus pandemic, now is a time that a team from the Pacific Islands must be entered into a format where they are playing against the likes of the Crusaders, the Brumbies, the Blues, the Waratahs, and even teams from South Africa, being the Cheetahs, being the Sharks, being the Lions. So, because look, it is a known knowledge. Okay, it is a known knowledge that there are teams that are infested, that are full of Polynesian players. Okay, now where are we going to get these players from? Okay, if this was to go ahead, well, there's a lot of Polynesian Pacifica Islander players that are currently playing in the ITM Cup. Okay, and there are also players that play in Australia, that play for the junior domestic leagues, being, playing for teams like Sydney Uni, playing for teams like Randwick. There are players of Pacific background that do play for teams here, both locally in New Zealand and also in Australia. Okay, and I do believe that there are some players that do venture out to Japan, okay, and play for the junior leagues in Japan and also in England. So in terms of capturing and in terms of incentivizing, in terms of providing a platform, so for the longevity of a Pacific Islander team to exist and to be successful, there are junior local competitions that do provide players a training ground or a platform where they can hone in their skills, and that would allow them to then further progress, and if they are to be selected to play for the inaugural team and to continue playing for the inaugural team or a step up as it's been established, then there is a platform there. Now, come on, let's face it. Can you imagine a team with the likes of Leone Nakarawa, Semi Radradra, Joshua Tuisova, Tim Nane Williams, Alapati Liwa, and Ben Tamifuna, and Sonatane Takulua. Okay, excuse the pronunciations. Okay, but yeah, because I have just written their names down based on my research, and yeah, and just reading it back, if I have mispronounced any players, I do apologize. But all in all, just cast your mind on a team that's got Leone Nakarawa, Semiran Radra, Joshua Tuisova, Tim Nane Williams, Alapati Lewa, Ben Tamefuna, and Sonatane Takalua. Okay, these are the players, just to name a few. I mean, the team itself is a glamour team, okay, with the likes of these players. Only one player out of that makes a big difference, gets the team up and running, okay? And then there'll be former players that will be in the ranks, like Filimoni de la Salle, just to name one, that will be pushing the juniors through. And also, okay, without further ado, okay, without putting so much emphasis on the game itself, okay, we must realize that this provides people in the Pacific Islanders with goals, ambitions, and it allows them to basically do something towards the greater good for themselves and their family. They've got a reason to do something. They've got a reason to excel. They've got a reason to apply themselves in the sporting arena for their country. I mean, if you ask any player, okay, any player, whether they're from Tonga, whether they're from Cook Islands, whether they're from Samoa, whether they're from Fiji, okay, their first choice, who they would like to play any sport for, it would be for their home country. It is because of the fact that, to set up their family for, future security, stability, financial reasons. That is the reason why they move out to countries like New Zealand, Australia, England, Japan. Okay? It's not their first choice. So why, as us, as being the informed, the awoke governing body, why don't we provide them with a platform where they are playing with the mana, as we say, from New Zealand? They have their mana intact, okay, and they can represent their country. And also it adds the exciting flair that all of the audiences have come to appreciate. Don't believe me? Look at the Sevens rugby. Okay, Sevens rugby worldwide has been always a dominant force. Okay, there's been countries where the two-day contest has always been sold out. Okay, it's a party scene. Okay, it's a fun environment for children and adults. Okay, we need to do something like that. Okay, we need to allow the fans to recongregate, to appreciate, to have an outlet for fun during these times of doom and gloom. Okay, there is nothing but stress and anarchy and pandemics around the world. We'll allow this form of team with the Pacific flair to bring people together. And hey, here's another thing to add as an incentive. Why don't we, okay, when we do potentially, fingers crossed, launch a Pacific Island team, promote the fact of funny costumes, okay, exactly like the Sevens, and also like the 2020 cricket Big Bash League, where they have cheerleaders, where they have DJs. Got to have a fun environment, a festive environment. So anyways, this is what I believe. And look, I believe that, a team by the name of the Pacific Island Tribesmen, that would be a great team, a great solid name for a team. Okay. And there needs to be, all in all, okay, without going on a tangent, there needs to be a team from the Pacific Islands that is added into a roster, whether it is through SANZA, whether it is on a breakaway competition for Australia, whether it's a breakaway competition for New Zealand, or whether it's an amalgamation of both countries. But all in all, there needs to be a Pacific Islander team consisting of Cook Islands, Fiji, Tonga, Samoa in the competition. Okay, this I hope, Mick, you are hearing. Okay, this is something I'm very passionate about and is very close to my heart, and I believe that there is a place for Pacific Islander team to be in rugby union and in the not too distant future rugby league. This is me once again, Junior, signing out. Take care of yourself and each other. Thank you.